And so this is the devil's plan, is that through the false accusations that he's bringing upon us, he wants our consciences, he wants to defile our conscience through those experiences. And what God is saying is that it's only going to further our breakthrough, and it's actually only going to further our deliverance from those accusations, because once we go through these trials, especially of false accusations, they force us to question who we are. And we say, oh, so-and-so said this about me. And then we say, what happens is we go home and we're like, man, Lord, is that true? Is that true? And then God can tell us that it's not true, and he can tell us who we really are. And through the more we experience the false accusations, actually, the more we get to hear the Lord's voice and see his hand at work to defend his name, because it is the Father's responsibility to defend his own namesake, and the children bear his name. And so when anyone speaks evil about his children, like they did about Jesus, he is actually spurred on by wrath to come and defend his name and to reconcile that wrong and right that wrong. And even Jesus today, his name has not fully been restored, but God will defend his name. And the truth is that the devil is still accusing all of us. And the accusations he's bringing against us are not only false, but they're actually not just accusations against us, but they're accusations against Jesus himself, because we are a piece of his body, right? And so if you're going through this, what happens is that, well, all those who try to exalt themselves will be humbled. But all those who are humble themselves will be exalted. And so the truth is that God doesn't want us to try to exalt ourselves. If we try to exalt ourselves, if we do exalt ourselves, then it actually only results in vain glory. But when God does it for us, it's so much more powerful and glorious, and it has longevity. And that is what the Father is trying to do for us. He's saying, don't try and pick up your own battles. Don't try and take the sword of the Spirit to defend yourself and prove who you are to other people. But let God do it. And God is going to raise you up with Jesus Christ. He's going to show everyone who you are. He's going to show everyone who you are. And when he does that, when he reveals you for who you are, you will also see yourself for who you are. But God is trying to, in the secret place, convince us of who we are, so that we can stand up and, even in the face of all the false accusations, still continue to have a clean conscience and walk uprightly and speak with kindness and mercy and love and goodness and patience towards others. And so all those who exalt themselves will be humbled. All those who humble themselves will be exalted. So in this time, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, and he, in due time, he will exalt you. He will lift you up. He will raise you up. And because this is God's plan for us, is that we should be exalted, right? But first we have to qualify for the inheritance through cultivating humility and meekness. Just like Jesus. And the truth is that we can't return accusations. We can't return accusations against the people who accused us. Because truly, the one who is always concerned about accusing other people and tearing them down is sometimes really just a guise for somebody, and it's just a cloak. And what they're really doing is they're trying to exalt themselves. You see, because the one who is constantly concerned with accusing others is actually placing themselves in a place of exaltation. Because to accuse somebody is to take authority over them, right? And so when we see this pattern happening, it's usually because the devil, who is the accuser of the brethren, has taken hold of the church, has taken hold of somebody in the church, and he's trying to honestly deceive that person into exalting themselves so that they actually have to be humbled again, be brought low again. And so if we are the ones being accused and being humbled through false accusations, just like Jesus was, I don't believe that we can just fall into the trap of accusing others in return in order to defend our own namesake. Once again, it is the Father's responsibility to defend his own namesake, and he is the one who leads us in paths of righteousness for his namesake. So we really got to be careful and be led by the Spirit in this time so that we don't actually fall into the same snare that the devil lured these other people into a snare with, right? Because when Jesus was on the cross, he was brought there by false accusations. But the Bible says that he did not open his mouth in return, that he stayed in silence, and he did not accuse his accusers. But he actually was willing to take the false accusations and even be punished for them, but it never defiled his conscience, and it never changed the way that he saw himself. And through that trial that Jesus went through, God is also trying to get us to the place where it doesn't really matter what anyone says about us, is that we finally start to believe that even if the entire world is against us, God is still for us. God is still for us. And it's very easy for us Christians to judge ourselves according to the flesh or according to appearances and say that because we're going through various trials, that we're unsuccessful and that we're not Christians, or because we seem to be lacking a certain type of fruit in our lives in this time, that we're not real or true Christians. But the truth is that even when everyone leaves us, it doesn't mean that we are unsuccessful or that we're not doing our job, because Jesus, in his loneliest moment on earth, when he was put to death, pretty much everybody had left him. But that work that he did on the cross, where he was the most alone and the most rejected and the most disrespected and falsely accused, was actually the greatest work that he ever did when he was on earth. So we can't judge ourselves according to the flesh and say that because we're losing followers or everyone is rejecting us in our life right now, that it means that God is trying to punish us, or that God is angry at us, or that we're not successful, or we're not his true sons of God. We need to know that these are things that we actually have to go through in order to be qualified for more of the glory and the inheritance that he wants to give us.